Starting your day off with a take on Vegas you won't get anywhere else.
Hi, I'm Holly Madison, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hi, this is William Shatner, and I listen to Brian Shapiro.
Hey, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and I listen to Brian Shapiro. Why? Because I'm a good American. So is he. And if you don't listen to him, you need to pack up and leave this country.
This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Come on, guys!
Oh, yeah. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Shapiro back at you. Sharp and Shapiro, the Vegas Take. Ready to have a lot of fun today. I am back. Don't worry. I mean, you know, not that it's not all about me, but for 10 seconds, I'll say I am feeling better. I was a little bit under the weather. Was not feeling very good. In fact, I was so sick, I had to cancel a few dates over the week. I know it's incredible. I could actually get a date. It's unbelievable. But I had to cancel a few of those dates because I was that sick, and I couldn't play golf on Sunday. But anyway, enough about me. Enough about me. We got a lot to get to today. JD Sharp across from me. We got Chris Wynn joining us as he does every single Monday. Did a fantastic job filling in, by the way, for me. I appreciate that, Chris. How are you guys doing?
Outstanding, gentlemen. Had a big weekend. So much going down. Watched a lot of college hoops.
Yeah.
The big dance is on.
Yes.
Okay? And by the way, we did check out a little NIT, right? Maybe some CBI action.
Yeah, if you're a degenerate like me, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. But
those last two tournaments are definitely degenerate.
oh, no.
Yeah. Hey, I've got CBI action going right now. Calm down.
CTI.
Relax.
Isn't that like a scan of your brain, dude? That's
It's
like
CBI, by the way.
CBI.
Yeah.
Well, there's the CTI also.
Well,
isn't
there's
there?
also CSI.
Or CS, whatever. Who cares? Anyway, we
The
are
Vegas
going to
16, too.
Yes, we are going to talk some hoops. One of my good friends and one of the top coaches of all time, top 60 on wins, Larry Eustace, will be joining us live coming up in hour number 2 to talk a little NCAA tournament, talk about UNLV. And I'll also explain in hour number 2 why we had to cancel a rally. We were gathering some people for a rally to try to get Mike Miller the job and, get some people together. I'll explain to you why we canceled that rally coming up in hour number 2. A lot of news to get to, so let's get right into it. And, of course, we will always take your calls at 257-5396. It is the most interactive show in Las Vegas. So if you haven't heard the news, if you've been living under a rock, the Mueller Report was released to Mr. Barr, and Mr. Barr made some announcements about it on Sunday. He released this 4-page document, leaders of the House and Senate Judiciary Committees, touting President Trump and his supporters as a total and complete exoneration, but it's not. That's not what Barr said. Barr wrote that Mueller's report did not find that the Trump campaign or anyone associated with it conspired or coordinated with Russia. Now, that's obviously good news. We don't want to hear that the president conspired with Russia and colluded. But what Barr also went on to say is that it does not completely exonerate the president. Now, that's big news. We need to know exactly what that means. What does that mean? It does not exonerate the president. We need to find out. Representative Eric Swalwell said, until we hear from Mueller, we can just call this the Barr Report. I actually agree with that. Okay, so that's where we're at today. It does not exonerate the president, and there are still investigations, some in New York as well. It means that there is no collusion, which is a good thing. Yes, that is a good thing for America when we find out that the president did not collude with Russia. I am happy to hear that. But let me just be simple about this, okay? If it completely exonerated the president, Barr would have wrote that down. He is an appointed guy from the president. He's a Republican. He's a Trump guy. If this completely exonerated Donald Trump from any wrongdoing, Barr would have put that in his statement. I guarantee that 100%. He's doing that for probably one or two reasons, or maybe both. The reason why Barr said that is because he's trying to protect his own ass, and/or the president could be guilty based on some circumstance, based on, obstruction of justice, which I do think he is probably guilty on, even though Barr says it does not exonerate him, but he's not guilty of obstruction. The only way we find this out is if it's released publicly. The only way we know for sure is if the entire report is released publicly. Oh, yeah, and speaking of that, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, in the last several hours, has announced that he will be blocking a non-binding resolution to make Special Counsel Robert Mueller's full report public. That's right. He's blocking it. Now explain this to me, Republicans, people that support Donald Trump, Chris, JD. If Donald Trump did nothing wrong and the report finds that he's completely innocent, as a Republican or as a Trump supporter, why would you want to block that from the public? Why would you want to do that? I'll open up the phone lines, and I want to get both of your opinions on that. So let me open up the lines at 257-5396-702, 257-5396. There is absolutely no excuse, in my personal opinion, to not release this to the general public so that we can see it with our own eyes, so that there's nothing left undone.
Without redactions?
Well, obviously, if there's anything in the report that could hurt the security of the country,
like an address, a phone number,
right? Exactly. Of course, we don't need that information, right? We don't,
and
need
that's not going to have any bearing whatsoever
Right.
on the overall outcome or opinion on this.
If Joe Public can go on Google and look up somebody's address or phone number, that's a really big issue.
That's different.
That's something that can happen every day, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I don't understand that. That has nothing to do with this.
That's completely different.
I have a perspective on this that I think is interesting. I was blown away by the fact that there was a lot of dancing in the streets. There was a lot of celebration going on. There was a lot of assumptions being made, and we all know what assuming means. It makes an ass out of you and me. With respect to this report or this response by William Barr, it was a response less than 36 hours. By the way, after he got a report that took 22 months, had hundreds of interviews. Thousands of hours spent, a lot of lawyers, a lot of indictments, a lot of stuff that went down. And in 36 hours, he comes out with a summary that is geared towards support of individual one. Okay? And we're supposed to swallow it, hook, line, and sinker. We're supposed to just take it for what it's worth and just roll with it. And that's going to be the end-all, be-all. Let's be rational out here, people, okay? Mm-hmm. Let's take a step back and wait till we get the final report. Wait till we get all the stuff that's redacted and we get the report in its entirety. And then let's see individuals who are smarter than us, Shap and JD and myself, those who are attorneys, those who are experts, and they have an opportunity to take a look at this and form an opinion, okay?
Right.
And then we can get see, it's going to be really bad. It's going to be awful, okay? If once it's all said and done and this report comes out and the opinion of the American public and the American people and people that are in the know when it comes to the legal issues with this have a different perspective than Attorney General Barr, it's not going to be good whatsoever.
Does not exonerate the president. We need to figure out exactly what that means, and we need to get the specifics on and find out what's in the report. It's very simple.
And to add to that, Brian, okay, William Barr came out in his summary and talked about how it was basically decided by Robert Mueller that there's no collusion with respect to Donald Trump and Russia. If there was no obstruction of justice, why wouldn't William Barr come out in his summary yesterday and say, oh, and by the way, let me add to the joyous occasion for those of you Trump supporters and those of you in the GOP and tell you that there was no obstruction of justice as well? Why wouldn't he come out and say that? Okay, if that's the case.
Because I think Donald Trump did obstruct justice.
Exactly.
That's why.
And also, you made the point yesterday, and I'll tell it to all the listeners out there and everybody also on social media. I think William Barr is covering his backside. Okay, if in case there's a different type of interpretation that ends up being the end game here with respect to obstruction of justice, he is covering himself so that if that does come out, he will be safeguarded.
Let me open up the phone lines. What do you guys think out there? Do you think it's wrong that we see this report publicly? Because apparently that's what Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell thinks. I think he is a buffoon. I think he is foolish for doing this. Phone lines are open, 257-5396. Again, that number if you're calling from a faraway land. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's start this off with Kelly. Kelly, thanks for calling in. How are you?
I'm good. I've got two things. One, I just noticed when I'm listening to your intro, it says start your day off with a take. And I'm like, well, you're starting your show at 6 p.m. and most people are finishing their day.
Well, maybe, perhaps I can have you do our promo for us with your lovely voice, and you can start it any way you want to. What do you think about that?
See, our show is geared towards the service industry, Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly, it is Vegas, right? So some people do start their day in this town. You got people rolling out of bed at 5 o'clock at night, right,
That
JD?
is true, but that's a valid point, Kelly. Maybe we will turn that around and maybe switch the opener. We can do that for you.
Cool. And don't forget, you still have to pick with your new MAGA hat since there was no collusion.
Well, hold on a second, though. Let's pull back on that one.
Is it a done deal?
It's not a done deal yet. There are still investigations that are open, and when those investigations close in New York, then we can have that conversation.
But the ones in New York don't have anything to do with collusion or obstruction. They have to do with the Trump foundation and other businesses.
I understand that, but there are still open investigations, and I want to wait until we see this
Kelly,
report publicly
there are
as
other
well.
congressional investigations still ongoing with respect to Russia.
Oh.
So it's not just about the Mueller investigation.
So don't do it. Don't do a rally just yet. You're looking good, Kelly, but don't do a rally just yet. I'm a man of my word. Let's give it a little while here. Let's wait and hear these hearings. Let's wait until
the thing is there's no. Robert Mueller concluded there was no collusion.
Actually, that was a summary yesterday from the Attorney General, his opinion of what's gone down. The entire report has not been made public, so we don't know exact details yet with respect to that.
Well, did you read all 4 pages?
I did not read all 4 pages.
Although I do find it.
Kelly, I'll fill you in. Myself and Shap, we went through all 3 networks last night. We were watching Fox News, MSNBC. We were watching CBS News as well as CNN, and we got every perspective as to what exactly is out there and what exactly was said in that response letter of 4 pages.
Did you watch Rachel Maddow weeping because she realized
I didn't see that.
it was...
That would have been kind of funny, though.
No, but
I didn't see it.
I do watch Tucker Carlson weep every night, though. Hey, Kelly, I got to get to some other callers. We still have a bet. It is still a live bet, and I will be a man of my word. I promise you that, okay? All right? Kelly, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. Let's go to Ron. Ron, you are next on the Vegas Take. Ron, thanks for calling in. How are you, Ron?
Good evening, gentlemen. Hey, I have a great idea. President Trump is coming here April 6th.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that you guys are saying tonight, I'd like to see you guys challenge him to a debate. If it has to be on radio, by phone, okay.
First of all, Ron,
I would love
that. You guys tell him to his face what you're saying about him tonight.
I would love to.
Let's see what happens.
I would probably.
That would be a gift.
Ron,
how's that for a good challenge?
I think it's well, Ron, let me just back up a little.
Man,
Trump,
right to his face.
Sure. Well, let me Ron, I'm so glad you brought that up. Last time Donald Trump was in town, he did a rally at the Westgate. I know. Okay. All right. Well, you don't know this. I was in contact with Hogan Gidley, who was one of his media personnel.
Yeah.
As Donald Trump landed in Vegas, I was told that there was, quote, a good chance that Trump would call into the show. And when I did the show that day, we were waiting for that phone call. Guess what? The phone call never happened. And this is
Did you challenge him for a debate?
Absolutely. I wanted him to come on the show.
Well, do it again. Get his attention.
All right. Well, Ron, there's nothing more I would rather do than to sit across Donald Trump. I can tell you that right now, and I'd invite a couple porn stars in studio while we did it. What do you think about that? Ron, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. Let's go to Al. Al, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Good. How are you doing this afternoon?
Doing good. Al, what's on your mind?
Well, a couple of things. Number one, a good portion of the report will not be released to the public because it's grand jury testimony, and Barr's already publicly stated he's following DOJ guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether that idiot Schiff would take that to court, I guess we don't know. Number two.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I'll let you get to number two. Don't worry. Why do you call Schiff an idiot?
Because he is.
Why?
He's a liar.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Have you ever called Donald Trump an idiot? Would you consider him a liar or no? Does he always tell the truth?
No, I'm Trump all the way. Mega.
Okay, so you didn't answer my question, though. I didn't say if you support Donald Trump. I said, would you consider Donald Trump an idiot like you call Schiff? Because you said Schiff lies. Assuming you're true, that's true. You don't think Donald Trump lies?
This is totally irrelevant.
No, it's not. It's completely irrelevant.
How about I ask you a very direct question? Did Donald Trump lie last night? Did he lie yesterday when he talked about this entire response? Did he lie yesterday?
I don't know.
I do know he did. He said that there was absolutely, positively no obstruction of justice, which is not true. So he lied. Simple as that.
Now that an idiot, you can call Trump an idiot.
Okay, that's fine.
Point number two.
But you didn't call him an idiot.
Point number two is
prove your bias.
Look at the political angle. Trump is experiencing a bump in the polls. Keep an eye on Nancy Pelosi. She's not going to allow any kind of impeachment go forward. It's all going to be political from now on.
All right, we'll see that, Al. But I think, with all due respect, I think
political. Southern District of New York is political.
No.
Chap.
Look,
JD.
I think he showed his colors right there. He calls Schiff an idiot, and then when I ask him the same question about Trump, who argues probably 5,000 times more a year than Schiff does, and he says, "Well, that's irrelevant." He shows that he is biased. 257-5396, 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Jeff. Jeff, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Hey, guys. Love the show.
Thank you.
But I just think, it should be made clear that, we have the top prosecutors, the top investigators the federal government had. They had these guys working for 2 years, and they found not enough evidence to bring a case for collusion or obstruction of justice.
Not true. That's
not true.
What you said is not factual.
We haven't found out the facts yet. All we found out is a review from AG Barr. That's it.
You think
you're making a determination already?
Pressure, though, with all the political pressure behind this report, you really think him in his right mind would lie about what's in it?
Well, Jeff, let me ask you.
There's absolutely no way he would lie.
There's wiggle room. No, I didn't say he's lying. I'm not saying
Jeff,
William
can I
Barr's
ask you,
lying.
Jeff, let me ask you a question. If Barr said, which he did, it does not necessarily exonerate the president. Quote. Why would he say that? Why would he say that?
Yeah, because the whole point of this investigation was not to determine his guilt or innocence. It was to determine whether the evidence was there to warrant a prosecution, to warrant an indictment. It was never about determining guilt or innocence. It was about investigating.
Oh, it was 100% about guilt or innocence. The whole purpose of it was to determine whether or not that it rose to a criminal crime. It was a crime.
That's why they did warrant a court case, a prosecution. Was he going to come back and say you're guilty? No, you have to go to jury to say whether an indictment was in order.
If my co-host J.D. Sharp was accused of robbing a bank, which I don't think he ever has been, but if he was, and I was the investigator, and I said to myself, well, I don't have, and I knew he was innocent, I wouldn't say, well, I don't have enough evidence to put him in jail, but I'm not necessarily going to exonerate him from robbing that bank. No, I wouldn't say that. I would say there's no evidence to support the fact that he robbed this bank, and he is exonerated. So with all due respect, Jeff, I disagree with you.
Well, we can quibble over wording, but the facts remain the same. This elite team of prosecutors did not find the evidence to warrant indictment.
And how do you know that? Have you seen the entire report?
Yeah, you haven't seen the report yet. How can you make the determination?
How about this? Well, what about when the BuzzFeed report came out that had erroneous information about the Mueller investigation? How quickly did they come out and respond? So you think if Barr's out there making gross misstatements about the investigation and what was in the report, that they're not going to?
It wasn't a gross misstatement. It was his opinion. All right, it's his perspective of what the Mueller report represents. And by the way, it was a perspective that was formed over less than 36 hours after he got the report. Okay, so there's I'm not calling Attorney General Barr a liar. We're not saying that he's being completely dishonest, but we're also saying he's setting a narrative. Right? His response yesterday is something that got the entire nation up in a fervor. Social media was going crazy because people on both sides of the aisle were making determinations based on facts they had no idea about. Okay, so people were in already deciding the outcome of this entire investigation.
And for the record, I do not believe JD's ever robbed a bank before. You do steal a lot of water in my refrigerator, but I don't think you've ever robbed a bank before, correct?
Yes, I've never robbed a bank before.
So for the record, Mr. Barr Shapiro says that I will fully exonerate you from ever robbing a bank in your life. 257-5396 is the number to call. 702-257-5396 if you'd like to be a part of this conversation. The big point that I'm making today is Mitch McConnell is a scumbag. Okay, the fact that he is going to block this non-binding resolution and does not want this Mueller report to become public, he should be ashamed of himself. For all you Republicans out there and you Trump supporters, why are you not shouting from high heaven? If you think your boy is completely innocent, why are you not shouting, Mitch McConnell, you scumbag, make it public. Make the entire report public, barring, no pun intended, barring a few things.
You say your boy, what you actually mean is my president, your president, their president, and Chris's president.
I understand, but when I say your boy,
goes without saying, though.
Yeah,
he is.
When I say your boy, I mean there are people out there that will stand by him through thick or thin, no matter how many porn stars he has sex with. They will stand by him. That's I guess that's what I am trying to say. 257-5396, and you're right, he is my president. 702-257-5396, the number to call. Let's go to Gary. Gary, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Brian, are you there?
Wait, put your friend on the phone. Who's your friend? You just told somebody that I'm on. Who is that?
I don't know who you're talking to. This is deplorable Gary calling.
Is that your girlfriend with you? Who is that?
Oh, that's my landlord's girlfriend. She just brought a big bag of dog food for the dogs.
Are you paying your rent? Are you
two crazy dogs and two crazy cats?
Are you paying your rent on time? Can we exonerate you that you are a guy who pays your bills on time?
I don't. Not only do I pay the rent, I'm doing the weeding, cleaning, taking care of dogs, cats.
Wow.
Taking care of the parking lot down the street.
All right. You are a model. Gary, you are a model citizen, my friend. What's on your mind?
I
I just want to say that Republicans and Democrats both want to see a civil war. I mean, I hear these Republicans talking about they want to go after Obama and they want to go after Hillary Clinton. They want to put special prosecutors. Can we stop all the investigations and move on and help this country and help the world? Because the way things are going, we're all fighting with each other so much. And there's too many things going on, important things.
Well, this country is as polarized as it's been in the last probably 50 or 60 years, and the priorities are completely messed up. And this shouldn't be a huge priority. It really shouldn't be.
So let me ask you,
absolutely.
He's been president for 2 years. He's gotten absolutely no flexibility whatsoever, zero, since he's entered the presidency.
Well, I think you can make that case about Barack Obama as well.
No, you can't.
Yes, you can.
If he doesn't win, Brian, I Googled Donald Trump's name yesterday. And a report came up from I think it was like Stone John. It was some completely ridiculous, unvalidated source, and it basically said that Donald Trump has committed treason. It was the first thing that popped up when I Googled Donald Trump yesterday. That would never, ever happen in Barack Obama's presidency.
I'll tell you what.
He doesn't just have media working against him. He also has major search engines like Google working against him.
Quickly, I bring this up all the time. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. Okay, we can do multiple things. This is a nation that has a lot of resources. Okay, look, I understand that the Trump administration is understaffed with respect to a lot of the posts that are not filled. But that being said, yes, we can still investigate collusion. We can still investigate interference from a foreign power into our elections, okay, and still get things done that we need to get done in this country.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I did reference Barack Obama, what I was referring to is all the bills that Obama and the Democrats tried to pass were blocked, and they were blocked by Republicans. So a lot of things that Obama tried to pass were blocked. So, I mean, I think every president has obstacles that they have to face. And I think if you're going to talk about the media and we're going to talk about, how they treat Donald Trump, I think Donald Trump has to take a good amount of responsibility for that.
No, actually, I would just finish my statement. It was Mother Jones, which Chris says
is a big left wing.
Then why is that popping up number 1 or 2 when you Google Donald Trump's name?
I haven't seen it, so I can't.
And I don't know about the story.
It's right here.
It could be a new breaking story.
The title is Trump aided and abetted Russia's attack. That was treachery. Full stop.
I mean,
do you know how insane that is?
Of course, there are right-wing websites that say that these school shootings happen, that they're farce.
It's right under Fox News.
There's people that are way left, way right that have crazy opinions.
I mean, we all
we're not going to use that as the standard, right? For the left, right? JD, we're not going to talk about say all Democrats have that opinion.
No, I'm saying these are the things that Trump has to deal with and overcome, and has had to since he became president.
Just like every president does.
No other president's had it like this.
Barack Obama had to deal with a lot of that stuff too, as did George W. Bush, as did Bill Clinton. They all have to deal with the crazy, either fringe of the other party. They have to deal with it.
Yeah. Well, what I can say to that.
And wanting your president to be a criminal, which Pelosi clearly does, Schumer clearly does, is that not treasonous?
Let me ask you a question, okay? Because you bring up a very good point there. When you say that you believe that Schumer and Pelosi want Donald Trump to be a criminal, why would you say that?
There's a difference between wanting it.
They would clearly like Donald Trump to be a criminal, to be guilty for this.
Why would you say that?
That's not necessarily true at all.
How could I not say that?
That's not necessarily true at all. There's people that have had disagreements on both sides of the aisle ideologically, but have still been able to respect the president. George W. Bush, there weren't people that were calling for George W. Bush to go to prison. There wasn't, So with all due respect, okay, it's not that they want Donald Trump to be a criminal. It's that if he's done things that are criminal or he's done things that are not beneficial to the nation, then he should be called out for it. He should be held accountable for it.
And
that's what it's about.
This probe was based on the potential premise of him colluding with Russia, and clearly that is not the case.
Well, no, but it goes in all different directions, right? Remember Bill Clinton? The Bill Clinton investigation started out with Whitewater, I believe, right, and ended up being about lying about sexual relations in the White House. So
I understand to an extent what JD is saying, that maybe there are some Democrats out there that wish he was behind bars.
I don't doubt
but I'm not going to go that far to say that Schumer and Pelosi want that. That's I just don't know. But I understand where you're coming from. 257-5396, the number to call. Elias, you are next on the Vegas Take. How are you? Elias, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
Hi, Elias.
Hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good.
Well, you know what? Basically, I'm calling because you know what? It's time to move forward, and to move forward, let's go ahead and investigate now how this whole thing came about, how this investigation came about. Okay, with the fake dossier that was actually paid by Clinton. Okay, you guys are losing your mind over there on the left. Okay, it's time to move forward.
Okay, hold on.
Okay?
Let me respond to this. First of all, I'm not on the left, so again, you're factually inaccurate. Number two, let's look at the report and release it to the public. And then when we see that there's absolutely no wrongdoing, and, by your standards, you probably think that Donald Trump is completely innocent. If that's the case, after looking at the report, then we can go back and look at some other things. Chris, go ahead.
And quickly, Shap, when you say move on, but then say that we need to start investigating the investigators, that's not moving on, okay? That's going backwards. So you're basically destroying your own point right there.
Another 2 years of investigation. So let's see if he jaywalked this past month. Let's find out if he did.
That's exactly what they're doing.
I have it on good authority that Donald Trump jaywalks while drinking a Diet Coke on his way to McDonald's every day.
Listen, I'm going to tell you something. If Donald Trump jaywalked, I think he should get life in prison without parole. What do you think about that? Have a nice day. Thank you for calling. Appreciate it. Let's move on, but let's go back and let's investigate Democrats. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Talk about contradicting yourself.
I do like the idea of seeing where this started so that it does not happen again. Because this has not been good for the United States. It's been good for Fox News. It's been good for CNN.
It's good for our show.
It's good for our show. But for everybody else, is it a good thing? I don't think it's a good thing for the general public.
It'll be a good thing
at all.
It'll be
and I would be happy if this never happened.
And
again.
I'll say we got to take a break.
Okay.
But it'll be a good thing if they release this to the public and it shows no wrongdoing. And if Trump is an innocent man, then we can talk about that.
Yes, that would be an outstanding thing.
And guess what? Then we can move on, JD, because unlike what many people think, I am a very fair individual. And if the report comes out and there is absolutely no, forget about the collusion part, just no obstruction, nothing, then I will gladly sit here and say, you know what? Let's move on as a country now. Let's let the man do his job, even though he's an absolute jackass. Let's let him do his job.
Lock her up.
257-5396. 702-257-5396. We got Marge on the line. We got JD on the line. I promise I will get to all your calls when we come back. 257-5396. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You are listening to The Vegas Take. All right, welcome back. It is The Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Glad you could join us on a Monday. Chris Wynn in studio. Coming up, by the way, hour number 2, Larry Eustace will be joining us, college basketball guru, personal friend of mine. Lucky to have him on, so he'll be joining us second hour. By the way, this is also, I have to promote this a little bit. One of Marvin Menzies' former assistants will be joining us tomorrow. It's Eric Brown, is that his name? I'm bad with names. I believe that's his name. Eric. JD, help me out here. It's Eric Brown,
right?
Yeah,
his name's Eric Brown.
Yeah, Coach Eric Brown. Yeah. He'll be joining us tomorrow. Exclusive interview because nobody publicly has made any remarks except LaFleur made a few stupid ones on Twitter. But Eric Brown will be joining us. So that'll be good to hear his perspective. I want to be fair and I want to talk to him. So I appreciate him joining us tomorrow. Jim Livengood, former UNLV athletic director, will be joining us on Wednesday. Danny Tarkanian on Fridays. We got a jam-packed week, man. Jam-packed week, a great guest, and we got a lot of people on the phone right now joining us with this conversation in regards to the Mueller Report. Barr, I find it interesting that it's been a 22-month investigation, and in 48 hours, Barr all of a sudden knows exactly what's transpired. He puts out this 4-page letter, and now all of a sudden, when Democrats, rightfully so, want this to be made public in regards to the Mueller Report, so it's not the Barr report, what does Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell say? Nope, we're not making it public. It is absolute buffoonery at its finest, and why there is so much division in politics today. The number to call, 257-5396. Why don't I take a caller that seems to like to get into it with Chris Wynn? Let's go with JD. And when I mean JD, not co-host JD, I'm talking about our caller, JD. Thank you for calling in, my man. How are you?
Just peachy. JD, I would like you to act as my lawyer on this call because I know I'm going to need one. Gentlemen, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but Barr did not say it doesn't exonerate the president of obstruction of justice. Mueller said that. So your premise is wrong, number one. What Mueller said was there was no connection of Russian interference with Trump's campaign people or Trump. Mueller left open the obstruction of justice because he could not prove it. Mueller also met with Barr 3 weeks ago to give him a heads up. So then Barr and Rosenstein looked over the report together and said there is no evidence to say Trump had obstructed justice. Regarding the report coming out, Watergate report only came out 2 years ago after 40 years. Not to say that I don't
Doesn't
want to
make it
see
right.
it.
Doesn't make it right, JD. Let me just stop you right there.
Not
Because
to say that I don't want to see it.
Okay,
I'm just
I understand,
that
JD. I understand. I understand your point. Let me just pull back here for 1 second. Okay, in this 4-page letter, in parentheses. Okay, do I need to spell it out for you? I mean, Barr said it does not necessarily exonerate the president. Now, I didn't say collusion. I didn't say obstruction. He said it does not necessarily exonerate the president. So I don't know what you're coming from, to be honest.
JD, you got to lawyer up for JD here. You got to lawyer up for JD.
Said it doesn't. You're saying Barr said it doesn't exonerate the president. Mueller said that.
Yeah,
Mueller said it, and then Barr reiterated it.
We're splitting hairs here, JD.
No, we're not splitting hairs.
Yeah, we are because it's in his response letter.
JD, of Mueller saying that.
JD, I'll explain it very simply to you. Yes, it is a quote from Robert Mueller that he put in his response letter. Okay, you can make the direct connection. Okay, from Attorney General Barr to Robert Mueller as to this is his response letter. So he agrees with it, or he said, yeah, did Robert Mueller, is that a quote? Apparently it is.
Hold on. Let's go to Attorney Sharp.
You're overthinking it, man.
Hold on.
Okay? It's
Attorney Sharp.
Ridiculous.
Attorney Sharp, you're representing JD? Go ahead.
This is JD with my Juris Doctorate representing JD.
Yeah, there it is. Yep.
What do you have to say? You going to defend your client?
My Vegas take, the 3 shades of JD.
Would you like to defend your client?
That's an interesting question. But, I think that all JD is trying to say here is that it wasn't Barr's report, it was Mueller's report.
Yes.
Mueller said it doesn't.
And so whatever Mueller put on there, Barr's simply,
it's very simple.
As JD stated, reiterating that.
Fine. Let me be very.
He's not making his own statements based on the report.
As Barack Obama. Okay, hold on. As Barack Obama always would say,
it's his summary of what he was, of what's actually in the report.
Understood.
But he didn't create the report.
Okay, I understand.
You're making it seem like it's Barr's report. It's not. It's Robert Mueller's report.
Okay, as Barack Obama said, let me be clear. Okay. Okay, Mueller said it does not necessarily exonerate the president.
Hey, JD, is it Mueller or Mueller? Which is it?
Mueller.
I'll have to mull that one over.
All right.
Well, with that being said,
that's a bit too punny.
That was funny, JD. by the way, the caller. I had to mull that over.
Barr is appointed.
Monday.
Barr is appointed by Donald Trump. He is a Republican. He is a Trump supporter, which any way you face it, okay? Okay, that's number one. Number two, if this completely exonerated the president, Barr would have been the first one to have put that in a letter. Yes. He's putting that in there to save his own ass, and he's also putting that in there because there's probably a validity to it, okay? It's probably valid that it does not exonerate the president. It should be made public. Period. This report should be public. And if you disagree with that, you are a biased right-wing buffoon who has voted for Donald Trump and will stand by him. You are one of those idiots where Donald Trump said, I could shoot somebody on 51st Street and you would still support me.
5th Avenue.
Yeah, or whatever. 5th Avenue, 51st Street in Vegas on the Strip. I don't care. Yeah. You are a buffoon.
I thought it was Main Street.
If you don't want this to be public. Mitch McConnell is a scumbag. 257-5396, the number to call. Let me just take a quick deep breath here. Okay, Marge, thank you for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you?
Steamed up.
Hi, Marge.
He's steamed up.
All we know is that we got a summary from the AG. We don't even know how long the report is and the full content. So, I think at this point, it seems that Mueller laid out the case for and against, the obstruction of justice. Then he punted the whole thing over to Barr and Rosenstein. And what seemed strange last week is Rosenstein decided not to leave, but stayed on, which also seemed odd.
Right.
Then we find this.
I don't think it's odd to have two people looking through a report, a very lengthy report.
And it's
Instead
probably he found out what was occurring and stayed on to influence that part of the report.
Mm-hmm.
As far as McConnell is concerned, he probably wants to have some time for Barr and Mueller to just go through everything, redact what they can. But to just say that, McConnell wants to block it from the public just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think about is that, he's been in D.C. a long time. He probably got a call from his boss, and he's marching to his tune.
Yeah, no, I agree, Marge. Really good call. Good to hear from you. I appreciate it. You made some valid points there.
Does that translate to conspiracy or corruption or both? Which one?
I don't know, but
here's
how I feel about Mitch McConnell, and I'm going to use a very weird analogy that you guys might or might not like, or might be offended by.
Yeah, I really like these pants today are really up in your analogy.
Thank you. I'm wearing some very nice fire pants. Let's just say I'm in a bar with C. Wynn and Jason, and this really beautiful woman I'm talking to. Right?
Yeah.
She's gorgeous, and I'm trying to get her number, and everything's going great. And then JD and Chris show up. And they say, "Oh, Brian, you still have that erectile dysfunction, or are you still living with your parents?" You would call that a C blocker, right?
I call that parasite game.
Yeah, well, you could use. Yeah. I can't say the word on the air, but it starts with a C, and I'm not going to spell it out. You are called a.
We all know what it is.
You are blocking me. Okay, that's exactly what Mitch McConnell is doing. Only he is C blocking the country, as far as I'm concerned. Okay, that's what I think about Mitch McConnell. 257-5396. McConnell is C blocking us. 257-5396. Let's go to Jim. Jim, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you? Jimmy, are you there, my friend? Jimmy just C-blocked us. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Jeff. Jeff, you are next on the Vegas Take, my man. How are you?
Good. Hey, Brian, setting aside the question of whether or not there's some evidence of obstruction or whatnot, I think there's a more important question here, which being a central or a centrist as you are, not a guy on the left or the right, I think really if you're on the left, center, or right, this is a very troubling question about this whole thing, which is, now that the question of collusion with the Russians has basically been put to rest.
Yeah, which is a good thing. Which is a good thing, yes.
The question is, how did this get started? And this is a very serious question. Mm-hmm. This got started with the Obama DOJ and the Obama FBI. And the question is, was this just incompetence, or was it more nefarious? I mean, the power of the U.S. government was used to surveil an opposing presidential campaign, which I think is a very serious thing. So I think whether no matter where you are on the spectrum, you should want the question of how this started to be answered. Like, why did this Steele dossier that is known to be complete Oppo research and false, how did that get turned into a FISA warrant that then got turned
I get your point, Jeff.
I understand. Look, hey, let me jump in on you real quick here, okay? I like how Trump supporters want to boil down all of this to do something that's very simple, as if that there's no collusion whatsoever with respect to Trump, okay? But that's not what was decided here. Even if it is found out that they were not able to bring it to a criminal level where they were able to charge Donald Trump or anybody in his. It doesn't mean that there wasn't. It doesn't mean that there wasn't stuff going down.
Chris.
And you are now trying to. You're not going to let me finish my point. My point being is that you want to politicize law enforcement. You want to politicize the FBI and the CIA, and that's not cool, man.
All right,
okay,
let's go to JD.
We're not politicizing the FBI. It is an apolitical organization.
By the way, Jeff, great. Jeff, this has been a really good call.
Jeff, hang on.
One of the best calls we've had, so you're a very good caller. Chris, what is your definition of collusion?
A definition of collusion is not really relevant to the point I'm trying to make here.
You mentioned Trump not colluding. What exactly would he have to do to actually be colluding? In your opinion,
to collude, there would have to be a conspiracy with multiple individuals that would include the president in an effort with a foreign power like a Russia or a China to influence the outcome of the 2016 election. Now, Robert Mueller apparently here, by the way, we're jumping the gun, apparently here has decided that it does not rise to a criminal, something that can be charged.
You know what else he said? He
So
actually said that Russia made several efforts to try to collude with him.
You asked me my definition. I gave it to you. I don't understand what else you want.
That he turned down. Why is no one mentioning that?
What?
In the report, it's listed that Russia made several attempts to reach out to Trump's camp, and Trump's camp turned down.
There were 12 people charged. There were 12 Russians charged in this investigation. There were 12 Russians charged, okay, with collusion, okay.
So not only did Trump not
collusion. Let me rephrase that. 12 Russians charged with meddling in the 2016 election. There are 12 Russians charged, okay. That doesn't mean that the Trump side did anything criminal. It means that 12 Russians were charged with trying to influence the election.
Can I just say this? I heard a rumor that he urinated on 12 Russian prostitutes.
Look,
I don't know if that's true or not.
My entire point with the caller and with you, JD, was this. They want to boil it down to like, oh, yeah, he did nothing wrong, and they didn't find anything. So now we need to go back to how the dossier, by the way, the dossier is not the only thing that started this, okay? And they want to make it out to seem like that's the case. That's not the case.
And I have no problem with all the, like Jeff just said, finding out the origins of this so that it never happens again. I said last segment.
All right. Well, again, let's wait and see what happens here. I think I understand both sides of that argument, but you have to be fair on both sides, right? If you want to talk about, well, how did this originate, then you should also be on the side of Mitch McConnell is an idiot, okay? And this entire report should be made public. It should be made public, and if you really want to find out everything,
Brian,
then let's do it
within reason. Confidential information out of the picture.
There's going to be very small details in that entire report that are going to be so confidential that it can threaten the security of the country.
Exactly.
And the reason why I got fired up,
a small part of it.
The reason why I got fired up quickly is because they're talking about politicizing the FBI and the CIA. It's like, come on, man.
We understand. This is a very passionate. I mean? Yes, it's a good debate. It's a good debate. Let's take some more calls. We have a lot of people waiting patiently on hold. 257-5396. By the way, the number to call 702-257-5396. Let's go to Scott. Scott, thanks for calling in. How are you, Scott? Scott? Beam me up, Scotty.
Is he there?
No, I think we lost Scott. That's okay. That's fine. Scott, call back. I apologize. You've been waiting on hold for a while. Maybe some issues with the phone line. I'm not sure. 257-5396, the number to call. Let's go to Brian. Brian, thanks for calling in. How are you, Brian?
I am upset.
Uh-oh. You're always upset at me, Brian. You're always upset when you call in.
All right. The last caller was absolutely spot on, as JD so eloquently pointed out, and so was JD the caller. The quote that you have been quoting was Mr. Mueller's quote.
Which was repeated.
You go down 3 sentences from there, and let me read you what the other quote is from Mr. Barr. After reviewing the special counsel's final report on these issues, consulting with department officials, including the Office of Legal Counsel, and applying the principles of federal prosecution that guides our charging decisions, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein and I, Mr. Barr, have concluded that the evidence developed during special counsel investigation is not sufficient to establish that the president committed an obstruction of justice offense, period.
And what about the statement where he said it does not necessarily exonerate the president? You forgot.
That was Mr. Mueller's statement.
I understand that, but are you telling me?
Said that.
I understand that.
You don't seem to be able to separate those two.
What do you mean? I'm separating it.
Opinion. Well, Mr.
Barr put that in his 4-page letter.
Just said that's BS.
Barr put that in his 4-page letter. What are you talking about?
I'm just telling you. He put that quote from Mueller, but then they just told you why it's not. They're not going to act.
If Barr didn't feel that way, why would he put it in there?
It was an opinion from the Attorney General, right, Brian?
Right.
It's an opinion from. By the way, it's not just the Attorney General. It's also Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General.
I just told you that, and the
so it's an opinion. So it's not the end all, Brian.
And all of the other people that have to look at those things in order.
Right, and why do you think he put that in there? Because it's in there. Someone else was going to see that if he didn't say that. That's why he actually put that in there.
Well, he's saving his own butt. That's what it is.
It's not saving his own butt. It's accurate reporting, just like we do here at the Vegas Take. Brian.
So it does not exonerate Trump.
Yeah, and Brian, isn't the response? Brian, the caller, isn't it the response?
Barr is just saying what Mueller said in the first place.
And if Barr did not believe that or believed it not to be true, he wouldn't have put it in there.
That's not true. No matter what, he had to put there because other people are going to look at that document. Someone else was going to say that, and then it would have made Barr look ridiculous.
Well, that's where we disagree a little bit.
Excellent point.
That's where we disagree.
You're right on there.
I'm totally right. Someone else would have seen that. That report wasn't it wasn't going to be edited at all.
I'm listening, Brian. I'm listening.
JD's going to take me to that show if you get those tickets for him.
Nice.
I have a vested interest in this.
Which show are we talking about? Did I miss something?
The lady who you had on your program who was going to supply
the topless.
JD with some.
Oh, you're talking about the topless show. Okay, I thought you meant you were going to take my co-host, JD.
Are you talking about Charlene Carabao?
You're talking about Sexy. The show's Sexy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I can absolutely exonerate all the dancers in that show and say that they do a fantastic show. Brian, it's always good to hear from you, my man. I always like a good debate.
Thanks for the call, Brian.
We got to squeeze in one more really quick call, and then we got to take a break. Let's go to Randall. Randall, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you, Randall? Randall, you're on. Wow, we got some. This is really that's got to be like the 6th or 7th call that we've had.
Yeah.
That for whatever reason has not gone through. So good thing we got some more phone lines. Good thing those things are really working really well. It's really money well spent there. Anyway, 257-5396, the number to call, 702-257-5396. Chris, you're chomping at the bits. What do you want to say?
Brian, isn't it amazing though that a lot of the callers are chiming in and they want to make it seem like it's the gospel. This response yesterday, like it's the end all be all, right? Like it's the final determination as to what's going to happen here. It's not the case. It's a response. It's a reaction from the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General. That's what it is. A summary of 22 months of an investigation. That's what it is.
That's what it is. Look, when it comes down to it, I don't care if you are for or against Donald Trump. The bottom line is the word I'm looking at is transparency. Okay, and if you want full transparency, you want to know exactly what was in this report. Nobody can make any excuses. Everybody can form their own conclusion, but that's fine. We all get the same facts. We get what was in this investigation. Mitch McConnell is trying to block that from you and me. And I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican, you should be absolutely and positively against it. We got to take a quick break. But I promise you, when we come back, we will continue this conversation on the other side of the break. Also, breaking down March Madness, NCAA tournament, and we'll also talk a little UNLV hoops. Basketball coaching legend himself, Larry Eustace, will be joining us in hour number 2 as well. The number to call if you want to be a part of the program, by the way, 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call, 702-257-5396. It is very rare when we get 3 tomatoes in the studio today, but we have 3 very passionate people talking about this issue, and I think it is very, very good radio. Okay, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. Thanks for joining us. It is the Vegas Take of the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, Chris Wynn in studio. Coming up in about 25 minutes or so. Former National Basketball Coach of the Year, Larry Eustace, will be joining us, breaking down the March Madness, baby, and a lot to talk to, including how Duke seems to get every single call down the stretch and every single big game they play. We'll talk to Larry about that. He's friends with Coach K, so we'll talk to him about that and much, much more. Reminder, tomorrow we'll also be talking with one of Marvin Menzies' former assistants here at UNLV, Eric Brown.
I believe his full name and formal name is Eric Brown Jr.
All right, so Eric Brown Jr. will be joining us tomorrow. And Jim Livengood, former UNLV athletic director, will be joining us on Wednesday, Danny Tarkanian Friday. So we got a busy week ahead of us. We're talking about this Mueller report that was released to Barr, and Barr, after a 22-month investigation, comes out with this report within 48 hours. And then Mitch McConnell now blocking a non-binding resolution to make the report public.
Hey, do you think it's actually possible that Mueller, at the end of his report, actually had his own summary?
Probably.
I think that's actually not unreasonable.
I think that's probably fair.
Shap, they discussed that on a couple of networks yesterday. It was not something that was like something that was boiled down really small, JD. It was along the lines of a nice solid stack here and then maybe a little bit of shorter stack next to it.
All I can say is I can't wait until this becomes public. I want to see every word, every sentence, that as long as it doesn't risk national security of the country. 257-5396, the number to call. 257-5396. Let's go to Ed. Ed, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Ed?
I'm doing fine. I was just wondering with this, all of these people, the Republicans, Democrats, everybody wants to see this report. But what I'm wondering, Mueller had almost 2 years, 13 investigators, $25 million. How much of this report involves covert information? And this is something that nobody's thinking about. He's a very smart man. If he starts releasing this paperwork with all this covert and secret information and naming all kinds of people,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to see lawsuits. I think it'll be a hell of a mess.
Well, I respect what you're saying, but I think that, with all due respect, I think it's a gross. I think you're making some big leaps and bounds there with not knowing exactly. You're making big assumptions. I guess
Not if the actual evidence is included in the report. We're talking emails, conversations, text messages. All that stuff could be a real problem if it's actually released.
Look,
I think that releasing this report within reason, after that's all figured out, is totally fine. But it has to be whittled down to, again, within reason.
Mm-hmm.
Just releasing it as is completely insane, in my opinion.
Well, that's going to be the expectation, right? I mean, everything that's going to be with respect to national security, or if you're compromising individuals' personal information, all that stuff is going to be redacted.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand the caller's concern, but you have to figure, you have to.
Thank you, good call, Ed.
You have to expect that that's exactly what's going to happen, and they're going to release a report that's going to be free of all that.
Ed, I wanted to give you a chance to respond to that. Go ahead.
Well, I think you guys are right, but I think Barr has to go through the paperwork carefully,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he has to black out the stuff that's going to create a hell of a problem.
Oh, Ed, I don't disagree, and that's a good call. I think that's fair, and anything that could risk security of this country or really personal information that nobody needs to know, I'm okay with that. We're talking about possible criminal activity and things that the president did, or maybe people around him that did or didn't do. And I think the public deserves to know. Let's take another. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, but what people are worried about, of course, is that and particularly people on the left and Democrats. Okay, they're worried about things getting taken out of there or hidden that don't need to be. Right. That's the concern that's out there.
Sure. 257-5396, the number to call if you want to be a part of the program. 257-5396. Let's go to Randall. Randall, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Doing good, Randall. What's on your mind?
Great. Just like to congratulate you on a good show. I like how you have both sides represented.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Randall.
Yeah, I listen as often as I can. I just like to say, I'm a guy who's in the middle. I'm not registered. I'm a registered independent. I usually lean a little bit toward the left, and I just like to say we're going to have to accept the fact that there wasn't enough evidence for Donald Trump to say that he was colluding with Russia. My point is, though, the lies that have been told, and had Donald Trump told investigators that he had nothing to do with Russia, like Clinton said when he didn't have any relations with Monica Lewinsky, if he said that to investigators instead of just the public, would that be enough to convict him of obstruction of justice? Or
that's a very good question, and remember, that's a good question, Randall. And remember that Bill Clinton was questioned, right? Donald Trump threw written answers. To me, that's garbage. Donald Trump should have had to have answered face-to-face questions with Mueller. Put a camera in front of his ass. Put a camera up there. That's what Bill Clinton had to do. Why shouldn't Donald Trump do the same thing, right? Because he's got good lawyers? Is Giuliani? Well, certainly Trump picks great lawyers, right? He had Michael Cohen for 10 years. So we all know that Donald Trump had wonderful judgment. I mean, he picks the best people, right? Michael Cohen, who he once said is a great man and a great attorney. It's funny when these people turn on him. They're just not great people anymore. It's funny, isn't it, how that happens with Donald Trump and his administration?
It seems like a lot of lawyers named Michael just aren't very good people.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They hammered away at Bill Clinton, by the way. They did. They did. Hours and hours of testimony from him. It's directly in an interview. They drew blood from Bill Clinton. That's how detailed things were with respect to the Clinton investigation back in the 90s. Donald Trump released a adorned sheet of paper with written out answers.
Yeah, fair enough.
Was it adorned with jewels?
Yeah, I don't know that. 257
gold sheets of paper.
257-5396, the number to call if you want to be a part of the program. Let's go to Anthony. Anthony, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Tony?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good. What's on your mind?
That's awesome. I think that, I'm a guy from the left. I also served in the military, so I think
Thank you for your service, my man. Thank you for your service. Yes.
For this Constitution, I have scrapped on and I'll do it again. I think that yesterday for America could be a great day. I mean, an American president not colluding with Russia is a great thing. So if that's the case, that's a great day for America in that report. I don't trust Barr as far as I can throw him.
No, neither do I. Neither do I, Anthony. That makes two of us.
Yeah, because I think that for him to have a report that's 2 years old And the only sentence, the only paragraph he takes from the report is one where he gets one sentence out.
Yeah, you know what, another thing, Anthony? That's a good point, Anthony. You know another thing? Yeah. Here's a guy that Donald Trump appointed, and he seems to fire people left and right, right? He hires this guy, Barr, who is clearly a Republican, clearly a Trump supporter.
I will tell you, that was definitely on purpose.
He is, of course. He's 100% on Donald Trump's...
I call that intelligence on Donald Trump's behalf.
No, I call that corruption, but he's 100% on Donald Trump's side.
Not firing somebody is not corruption.
We should all just say, you know what? This is Barr's 4-page report. He must be telling the truth. It must be true. We don't need to see the whole report. I'm sure Donald Trump is clean and everything is fine. Let's just let it under the rug, you know? Is anybody kidding me? Fox News, you watch Fox News all day. It's a joke.
Guilty or not, it was in Donald Trump's best interest to have a guy like Anthony Barr as the AG. But that was smart on his behalf, and you have to give him credit for that, Brian.
But correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't William Barr, I believe, the third or fourth choice for the Attorney General of the United States since Trump was elected? And by the way, Donald Trump got upset with Jeff Sessions, and basically he was dismissed because he didn't recuse himself in the Russia investigation.
Can I just say this? Barr, when it comes to, I'll give you a good analogy. When it comes to Barr and Donald Trump choosing him, it's like UNLV choosing Marvin Menzies. How did that work out? Anthony, good to hear from you, my man. I appreciate the call. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, appreciate it. Oh, we got a good caller on hold here. We got to get to him. Let me give out the number one more time. 257-5396. 702-257-5396. The man that is on the line right now is very famous for eating razors and swallowing razors. He's got a lot of cuts in his throat, and he also, from what I've heard, he has a lot of cavities as well. Mike Hammer on the line does a show Tuesday through Saturday night at the Four Queens. Mr. Hammer, good to hear from you. How are you?
They're razor blades. They're not just razors. But anyway.
Well, excuse me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they're razor blades.
Please exonerate. Please call Barr and tell him to exonerate me for all my remarks I've made about you today, please.
Well, I just have a question. Well, he needs to exonerate Jan Reuven, but
that's horrible. Who's Jan Reuven? Can you tell us who Jan is, Mike? I don't know who that is.
Oh yeah, well.
Our listeners don't know who that is. Please explain. I don't understand the joke.
Don't know, right? Well, Jan Reuven was arrested for child pornography.
Oh, that's not funny. That's not funny.
And he was recently sentenced for 20 years, actually.
That's
20
horrible.
years he got.
Sounds like Kevin Spacey. That's horrible. That's terrible.
Well,
okay.
I don't know if Kevin Spacey. I think that was a little different, right?
Okay, I don't know. Well, to me, when you touch men or women of a younger age, I think they're all in the same boat as far as I'm concerned. Yeah,
I agree. But
yes.
Kevin Spacey, what a great actor! Wow.
Oh, fantastic!
Anyway,
outstanding actor.
I'd love to have.
You know what I want to hear, Shap? Though? You know
Brian Singer, great director.
JD and Shap. You know what I want to hear? I want to hear a little Mike Hammer hot take on last night's what went down yesterday politically. Hammer, were you out in the streets doing a little Mardi Gras dance when you found out that Donald Trump might have not colluded with Russia? Were you one of those guys? I'm wondering, out there partying in front of the Four Queens after he found out that news.
No. First of all, I'm off on Sunday and Monday nights, so yes. I took no part. I was actually calling to ask you guys. I'm just because I've been listening to you guys, but I can't tell if you're not happy or not happy.
Good question.
About the Trump situation.
That's a good question. I'm going to try to be.
Hey, Mike, I love that question.
Ambiguous.
I'm going to try to be as. Let them all answer. I'll answer first. I'm going to try to be as honest as possible here, and I'm going to be serious too. As much as I don't like Donald Trump, as much as I think he is a complete scumbag and a horrible human being, and I stand by that, and I could give hundreds of examples, maybe thousands. I was happy to hear that he did not collude with Russia. And the reason why I said this is it's good for the country. I really don't care what happens to him. I could care less because, like I said, I think he's an idiot. But as far as what the country is concerned, we don't want the president of the United States colluding with Russia. What will other countries and other leaders think about us? It would make us look horrible as a country. So while I'm happy there, I think Nancy Pelosi's right. I'm not a big Nancy Pelosi fan, but I think this report by Barr, more questions than answers. Barr is to the right. He is a Trump supporter, and I will not be my mind won't be clear of this until it goes out to the public, until Mueller testifies in front of Congress, and until Barr testifies in front of Congress. When those three things happen, then we'll know. We'll have a much better understanding of the truth and what transpired. I hope that's the best way I can answer that question. You guys want to respond? Go ahead.
Brian, I'm glad you're not a traitor. And I
am a traitor.
I'm very happy. I'm very, very happy that this is much closer to being put to rest, and that the president of the United States, all of our presidents, Mike's, Chris's, Brian's, mine, is not a criminal at this time.
And I'm going to hold my Dave Chappelle impression going on right here. I'm going to reserve judgment until all the facts come out. Okay.
Whatever.
Yes, because Mike,
Come
look,
on.
this is my take. No, quickly. I'll throw it at you quick. Okay, I'll give you guys all three of you guys my description. Okay, because I think there were some shady dealings going on when you got Don Jr. meeting with Russians, when you got 12 Russians indicted. Okay, for certain things that went on with respect to meddling in the 2016 election. I think there were things that went on. I think the Robert Mueller could not bring it to a criminal charge, right? Very much similar to what happened with James Comey and Hillary Clinton with respect to the email investigation, right? There's things that were done wrong, okay, but it was not done to a level that could be found criminally with criminal intent. So I think that's kind of what's going on here. But like I said, and like Dave Chappelle says in the stand-up, I'm going to reserve judgment until all the facts come out.
You're not going to reserve judgment if you read your Facebook, but that's but the point.
Well, no, you saw my post said that exactly.
I would love to hear Mike respond.
The main difference, and I try not to get political on this because we could argue all day long with this thing, but the truth is, well, if you're going to, only because you brought it up, the difference, though, between Hillary and this situation, there was actually evidence where here they're looking for evidence. So
Mike,
those are two different things.
What do you mean? There's 12 people indicted. 12 Russians indicted for meddling in the election.
Mike,
no, absolutely, but not for collusion.
Fine.
For hacking with the election.
Mike,
right? I think the two main things they found.
Look, it's only fair. Mike asked us all a question. I answer it very eloquently because I'm an extremely intelligent person. So now I'm going to ask Mike. I'm going to ask you a question. You're a very famous magician. You're opening up for Chris Angel. You have an unbelievable career, and the rumor has it. And I'm not saying this is true or not. Just the rumor is, if you're a celebrity like you are, a local celebrity, you get a lot of women. I'm not saying that's you. So you're a very popular guy. So with that being the case, have you ever paid any porn star hush money? That's what I want to know.
No, have you?
Will you swear on your razors your razor blades?
I don't make a habit of hanging out with porn stars, although I know you know a couple. But also,
that's true, actually.
and Chris did hang out with a porn star guy. Nothing wrong with that. Over at the ABN Awards.
Well, that's Chris. Yes. Chris is a big Evan Stone fan.
Evan Stone is I'm a number one fan, by the way.
I was sitting next to Evan Stone 2 months ago, and it was a glorious hour.
No, but in all seriousness. Go ahead.
Let me just rephrase on something real quick. First of all, here's what's interesting. My take is whether or not he obviously they say no collusion and so on and so forth. But I know to have a business in Russia, Putin takes a good. I forgot how it's worked. I don't know if it's like a tax situation or just fee based. But I know in Russia, every single business has to pay. He gets a piece of every single business. And I know Trump does have hotels out there. So
of course he's got business out there. Of course. He doesn't want to show his... Of course. Any logical person would say, look, he's got some financial things going on out there. He's taken advantage of this presidency for his daughter Ivanka and Don Jr., the idiot. Yes, I do think John Jr. is a moron.
I don't think he ever thought he was going to get elected.
I don't think so either.
100%. 100%.
Yes.
I think he was elected, and he decided he thinks he could take advantage of it with his brand name, and his daughter's making a lot of money, and he's hiring all these idiots like Jared Kushner, who has no business being where he is at right now. It's a joke. I'm also a little envious that he gets to sleep with Ivanka, but with that being said, that's the only thing that I am envious of him for, other than
one final distinction, though, just with regards to Trump, one final distinction that a lot of people don't make clear.
He's a good-looking man.
Why someone?
Oh, I'm sorry.
There are many reasons why. I mean, not contrast to what you guys say, but there's many reasons why someone would want to be a Republican, just like many you'd want to be a Democrat. But I think I think you can ask a lot of people, and I'm not saying that they're necessarily that it's a Trump supporter. I think that's where it gets a little mixed up. There's some people that love what Trump says, and there's many people that are Republicans that really do wish Trump would stop tweeting and stop talking. Because if it weren't for that, there's a lot of there still are, a lot of good, economic. They've made some progress economically.
Yeah, I guess so.
But if water wasn't, if water wasn't wet, then you wouldn't drown either. I mean, it's the same. You understand the kind of direction I'm thinking.
I get what you're saying, but I'm just saying it's almost like everyone's been put in a corner because on either side, there's just this is goofy. We got to start getting.
It is goofy. To me, I really don't.
Next president, whoever it is, if it's not him or this is going to go on and on.
Oh,
I mean, this is not
Mike.
gonna stop
It's
here.
definitely going to be him, and then it might be his daughter.
That would be that's worse than Sarah
After
Palin.
That would be nepotism at its worst for this country if that actually transpired, JD.
I mean,
if that happened,
I mean, that is just
that would
Actually,
be horrendous.
it could be Mark Cuban. In
you might as well
2024.
get the Kardashians.
And then Ivanka has to pardon her father, right? What if Ivanka had to pardon her father?
With a very, very aggressive
Listen,
attempt by AOC.
You might as well have Kim.
I love you guys.
Thank you,
I
Mike.
had to call in when you probably have your ratings the highest night as possible.
You're killing our ratings.
The
Yes.
only reason I called in.
Thank you.
For high ratings in the
Yes.
Mike Hammer Show. But
Yes.
you guys are great, though. All you guys. It's
Thank you.
fun to listen to.
I would say the check is in the mail, but I don't have any money. But I appreciate you calling in anyway.
No, PayPal.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll use that. That's true.
Venmo.
All right.
That's
Thanks,
how
Mike.
that's how he pays his hookers.
I appreciate it. Mike Hammer does a show Tuesday through
Thanks, Mike.
Saturday night at the Four Queens. Very, very funny guy. I didn't understand when Chris said if the water was wet, I can't swim.
Yeah,
so
because he was talking about Donald Trump not tweeting. He wishes that Donald Trump wouldn't tweet. We all wish that fire wasn't hot either.
I was trying to make a joke,
and
but
we
you
wish
ruined
that.
it.
Yeah,
I was trying to make a joke. I can't swim. I don't tell a lot of people that.
You can't swim?
No.
You know that,
Really?
Chris?
No.
That joke had shades of Tommy Boy.
It did, didn't it?
Like in the beginning
Yes.
of the movie.
Housekeeping.
And I do have a physique of Chris Farley.
His first really, really bad joke before it got good.
Housekeeping. You want me for pillow?
It was that bad.
Here we go. We got some Shapiro impersonations going on.
Housekeeping.
in
You want me
studio.
for pillow? You want me? Oh wait, I'll stop it
That's
right
good
there.
stuff.
257-5396. Now's the time to call. We got a couple. We got only squeeze in a few more calls. Then we got to get to Larry Stacey. CJ, thank you for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you?
What's up, CJ?
I just called in late, but I'm just wondering: has anybody ever heard what Hillary Clinton thought of this Barr report?
You know, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to give you the most honest answer I can. I don't care what she has to say. She's out of politics. She lost the presidency. I'm not a Hillary Clinton fan.
I would like to hear what she has to say.
I don't want to hear what she has to say. I think she should stay.
I am interested in it.
Think about this. Is she even
he likes or he doesn't like? I mean, I'd like to hear it. I mean, screw you, pal. I mean, you're not God.
Hold on. Stop.
Okay.
Why are you saying screw me? I'm just telling you I did.
Because, I mean, you don't want to hear it. Well, maybe other people do want to hear it.
Okay, but that's just my opinion. Why would you say
well, that's
screw
fine.
me?
Well, then, you know, that's your opinion.
So screw anyone else that doesn't.
opinion
And
is
he
I'd
asked
like
you
to
what
hear
you thought.
she
He
has to
asked
say.
you.
Hold on a second.
Didn't he ask you
Hold
what
on
you
a second.
thought?
So anyone that disagrees with you on an opinion, you just tell them to screw off? Is that what you say,
Yeah, that's
CJ?
generally I do.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
guess what? Screw off. You're off our show. Have a nice day,
You know,
CJ.
it's kind of the same thing like earlier when you said that anybody who thinks that Mitch McConnell is okay.
Well, because I'm right.
blocking this
Well,
report,
CJ's right. I'm
they
right.
are an idiot.
Yeah,
But when you think about
it's kind of the same logic.
Yeah, bringing up
but I'm
Hillary
not
like
calling
you
in.
think
But I'm not calling into a radio show. CJ is. That's the difference, and I can hang up on him. That's the good part.
But bringing up Hillary Clinton, right? If you think of the Democratic Party right now, right in 2019, is Hillary even in the discussion as to whose opinion we want or who we want to hear
No,
from?
but I think she's
anymore?
relevant enough that I am interested in what she has to say about the findings of the report.
I'm not.
I do want to hear what she has. You don't want to hear what she has to say, Chris?
No,
I would like to hear it, but
Exactly.
but I'm on board with Shap when I'm saying that I don't think it's necessarily really relevant.
No.
I don't think it's something that's gonna move the needle by any stretch.
To me, that's
Okay, when you think politicians in the United States of America, whether they are current or past, who do you think right now? Top three: Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton. Who else?
Well, you're talking about
Barack
politicians.
Obama. Yeah,
Barack Obama.
Anybody
Barack Obama.
involved? When you think
Yes.
politics,
Bill
you think
Clinton.
you think Donald Trump,
Yes.
Hillary
No.
Clinton, Barack Obama.
No.
Absolutely.
I would say right now. I think of
That are
I think
alive
of
or
Donald
dead?
Trump,
Maybe Chuck Schumer.
Donald Trump, AOC,
No,
and then Nancy Pelosi.
All right, that's a debate. Let's take one more phone call. It's a good question. I think we should continue that discussion. We'll take one more call with Scott. Scott, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you?
What's up, Scott?
Yeah, hi, Brian. Brian, how are you?
Good, Scott. What's on your mind, my man?
I guess you're a registered independent, so am I.
So, yeah. What's going on? What's on your mind?
If you move any further to the left, you're going to be on the right.
So let me ask you a question, Scott.
Because the Earth is round.
So let me ask you a question, Scott. Do you know my voting record?
Well, do you know mine?
This isn't about you. This is about me because you called up and you labeled me way to the left. So I'm asking you a very specific question. Do you know my voting record?
You are calling President Trump a jackass.
Yeah, you want me to give you some reasons why? Anyone who disrespects...
The reason why?
Yeah.
What the hell is the logo of the Democrat Party? It's a
Excuse me. That's fine. If you feel that way about...
Oh, that's fine.
That's fine.
Perfect.
But I'm not a Democrat. I don't care what you say about Democrats. Why don't you stick to calling into shows you don't like? Why don't you stick to calling into shows that you don't like and calling the host names, you loser? Scott, you're a loser. Scott, you are a loser. You're more of a jackass than Donald Trump. You call into shows you don't like, you loser. If you're going to go more right, you're going to fall off your chair, you fatso. Have a nice day, Scott, you loser. You're going to call up the show and you're going to call me names. You're going to get it right back, buddy. You lost that argument, Scott, you jackass. Now, to answer your question, you didn't let me answer your question. Let me answer it.
Why do you think Donald Trump is a jackass?
First of all, anybody that attacks someone who was a prisoner of war is a jackass. Anybody who has a child and a beautiful wife, and the child is 2 months, okay, and you sleep with a porn star and then try to pay them hush money, you are a jackass. Anybody who opens up a fake university, Donald Trump University, and hires a guy like Michael Cohen to be your personal attorney, you are a jackass. I could give you thousands of more reasons, okay? How about grab them by the P word? Yep. Anybody who talks like that is a jackass. When you talk about illegal immigrants and you say, these illegals coming into this country, they're rapists, they're bad people, and I suppose some of them are good people. Anybody who talks like that is a jackass. Anyone who, when you see the KKK and neo-Nazis on one side and then Antifa on the other side, and you say, I suppose there's good people on both sides, you are a jackass. I just gave 10 reasons to any logical person that would agree, okay? So you are
and you left out a bunch more.
Yeah, and I left out a bunch more. Okay, so thank you for the phone call. We appreciate it. JD, where'd you go? Oh, wait, did I just say you left the studio? I'm not supposed to say that, am I? Don't get angry.
No,
you left the studio. Okay.
He wasn't doing it red-faced and all fired up at you. So that's a good thing.
I had to go to the restroom.
Yes. Yeah, you had to vomit from some of the things I was saying on the show. I understand. All right, when we come back, this is going to be a lot of fun. Not that that last call wasn't fun, because I love blasting that idiot. But when we come back, we're going to be joined by a legend. He's National Coach of the Year, personal friend. Larry Eustachy, former coach of Colorado State, Iowa State, been around a long time. He's going to be joining us next when we come back. You're listening to The Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.